like Watson. I'm here to tell you about the OctalPus Amplifier by Swampdonkey Amps. Hand-built in Cochrane, Alberta, right here in Canada. Now, this all stems from an old PA head that I found long ago at a vintage shop, built by Stromberg Carlson. Now, if we use trusty old Strat with gold foils in the two positions with the Lawler in the bridge, right? The Oahu lap steel pickup. Now, the gain is, let's say 11 o'clock. Bass and treble, 3 o'clock. And the reverb I've got pushed up pretty hard right now. The dwell is sitting about half, so nothing too crazy. And the tremolo is the usual setting that I would use on a show. So the depth, of course, just cranked. And the speed, cranked the opposite way. My tremolos, I love to have as slow as possible. So that's what I asked Chris, the builder of this amp. At the time, he said, what spec would you want? I said, as slow as humanly possible. So let's start out with no effects. So far, oh, reverb's on, reverb's on. Okay, totally dry. Now, there's a switch just by the gain that has 3 positions. Right now, I'm on the very woolly setting, which I don't want to start on. Let's try with the blanket. I call this the blanket off. So let's take the blanket off. Yeah. Now, we're not going to start in such tweedy territory. So. I think it's got great string definition, and you really hear the character of that 6SJ7, that sharp cutoff pentode. It really stands out front, I think, in my opinion. Of course, pretty biased over here. So you've got 6SJ7 at the front. Now we've still got buckets of room to go on the gain. The volume, as I usually do in the show, the master volume is set, 3/4 to 7/8. Anytime I play an amplifier, especially this one right here, I want to hear those power tubes. Most amps, to hear the preamp, that's one of the easiest things that you can get out of an amplifier is that preamp. But what's the power section going to do? That's what I want to hear. So, now if we go into... It's all right there. Now, the speaker that we're going into, it's a Jensen P15Q. It's vintage, so it's from '59. Now, I've tried it with a bunch of different Webers. They all sounded great. The 15A150, I think it was the B. It was about the closest that I could get out of their series for this amp. But when I tried it with the P15Q, that's it, lights out. That's the sound of a blown speaker, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Looks like I just blew a P15Q. Luckily, I have another, but that's tragic. Guess it just couldn't handle the power of the OctalPus. Or I can't read because the P15Q's wattage ratings are much lower than the 35 watts of the OctalPus. My bad. Okay, so who is into the rescue? It looks like we have the Sweet 16 cab. Oh yes, folks. Yep, 16 by 4. Pretty clean, and that's dry, no reverb yet. We've still got the reverb and trem to come, and trust me, this thing has got oceans of it. So let's start with the reverb, which is set. Right now it's like half and half, half dwell and half level. So let's hear. Okay, level's a little bit down. Okay, get off my back. Okay. That tail, it's pretty nice. Now, it doesn't take much because, of course, this is the OctalPus. Every single tube in this thing is octal, right? So we've got octal tubes with the reverb send and return. Now, if we just bump it up just a little bit, now we're going to go, let's say, to 1 o'clock on level. And dwell, we're almost at 3 o'clock. Let's call it 2. Now we start to hear the walls of that reverb start to open up quite a bit. It's one of my favorite parts of this amp. Pretty bitchin', man, and that's, that tail is not overtaking the guitar signal at all. Like, it's always on the bloom of those notes, which another great part and quality out of the Stromberg Carlson AU33 that Chris Check incorporated into the design of the OctalPus. That's part of the wizardry of this amp, that you not only get the best parts of modern circuitry and design, but you get that vintage tone and sound. I would just recommend vintage speakers. Just read before you put them into the cab, their wattage ratings, unlike what I just did. And yeah, and then you won't fry your speaker cab. It's best. I recommend it. Okay, now, once again, I said the OctalPus, it's got all octal tubes in all positions. Now, the tremolo is the exact same thing. It's lush. I'm gonna call it lush. Now, let's just see. Maybe I'm overstating things here a bit. tail. That's the tail. That's what I'm talking about. This is going to exhibit exactly what the reverb and trem are going to be able to do to be able to work with each other to create something of a new tone out of the amp, a new facet. It's got it where it counts. Now, of course, it'll do faster speeds as well. We can easily do that. Now, for the faster trem, Kirk to the bridge. All right, now it's time to get back to the chopper. Pretty cool. And that's, again, straight bridge pickup. Now, again, we're on the chopper currently. Now, of course, when you leave that setting on and you have it cranked up at that kind of a level, you're going to get the chopper taking you in over the ocean. That's just how it works. All right. Now, if we turn off that tremolo, which is just luscious, like a deep ocean, we just go back to that different kind of ocean, the reverb, again, all octal reverb. Let's hear the sound of the walls it's going to make. it's all right there. Now, again, that last part was all on that bridge pickup, which is the Lawler Oahu lap steel pickup. Anytime I was up on the neck, that would just be a jump between either of these gold foils, the dearmament or the Tysco. And sometimes I have the option where I can pop that bridge in just with this pull pot right down here. So now if we wind up taking that neck pickup, we pop that bridge pickup out so that they can be heard in unison. It's a very interesting combination. Just kind of gives you best of both worlds. All right there, you know. Now, of course, if we go straight neck, it'll get pretty chunky. What you're thinking, Mike, where am I going to get a 16x4 cab? Now, I know what you're thinking, Mike, where the fuck am I going to get a 16x4 cab? I'm never going to play one of those. And you're right, they're very difficult to find. I never thought I'd find one, let alone play guitar through one. Now, this one in particular, it sounds very, very much like a 115. I can guarantee you that is the sound that we're hearing in the room. Okay. Let's get to the bonus section of this. Now, one of my favorite things to do, of course, I mean, don't we all just love to pin an amp and just to see what it's going to do? So why don't we take the OctalPus amplifier and let's pin most everything and let's see what it's going to do. Now this is really where things start to get interesting. The amount of reverb that we're surfing on is quite a tsunami of tone. Now, you can hear just by the initial decay of that tail. I mean, it's kind of still going. I can still hear it. It's pretty wild. So, there are things that we can sort of look for in this, though. Let's check it out. Now, we're going to try two different guitars on this. And just to hear a little brass to steel, brass to string type sounds. That's all in standard tuning, and again, that was all on the neck with the bridge happening at the same time. So that's a combination of the Oahu and the gold foil. No pedals, 0 pedals, straight into the amplifier, and we have cranked everything. So even when you crank everything, there's still quite a bit of usable tones in there. They can, some of them can get into that nar territory that we've talked about before. All right, so now this is really gonna be about string definition. Now, using the Gary Clark Jr. SG, which is this is one of my favorite guitars. My Strat, I love beyond belief, but this SG is just phenomenal. There's so many things to love about it. I won't even get into it. So if we just take a look, everything's set maybe 7, 8, and of course the P90s, right? It's 3 P90s. Like, what do you want? Get out of here, right? So it's like, you're gonna get that anywhere, and when the drums and the band come up, you're not gonna hear that, and at the end of the tune, when I hit the tuner pedal or drop my volume pedal, it's gone. Because of course the amp is dead quiet. All right, so now, like I said, as an exposition of just string definition, it just jumps right out. And there's still more to go. I've got maybe, I don't know, three ticks on the dial left, and that's for each pickup. Now remember, P90s, right? Going on there, a lot. You've got the bass notes separated. And of course there's that compression. Really the secret sauce that's going on there is the compression that's going on in the power section of the two 6L6s, right? Now of course those Svetlana winged Cs, they've got to be some of my most favorite 6L6s of all time. Now, of course, I understand why. A lot of people ask me about 6L6s and about tubes a lot, and that's fine because I talk about them a lot. But the 6L6s in particular, there's got to be over 42 different variants or something at this point. It's pretty ridiculous. But out of those variants and out of those makers that you can find, the Wing C, Svetlana, those are about the best, at least hands down the best modern production, although they're not in production anymore, I get it. 6L6 that you can find, and they, as far as I'm concerned, will go toe-to-toe with those old RCA black plates, those tall bottles. I've heard them, and they both compress and just have those harmonic blooms that that you would expect and want out of a tube, especially that you'd be paying that kind of price for. So straight into the amplifier, no tricks, right? And that's even exhibiting, that can show you in a completely quiet space, which this is, completely quiet space, you can hear very, very low noise, and it's crushingly low noise floor. Beautiful, right? And you couldn't find about a quieter space. So okay, we're gonna go to the secret level now. This is full secret level going, right? Now, again, with the P90s, there's nothing you can do with P90s and lighting. It's just the way it is. But with a full band, you're not even gonna notice it. Crickets. I forgot to mention the crickets. There's a knob and a setting and a bias adjustment on the back of the amp so that you can dial in the crickets. No, there's no crickets. Obviously, you know, that's just part of the octal tube circuit that's going on, right? This is the sound that takes us into the nighttime.